Welcome back to Grounded Reality. We're here with Scott, a professional prompt engineer and founder of Humans First. So Scott, obviously we understand that you're quite deeply into the kind of prompt engineering background and kind of in the circles of some of the kind of prompt engineers of the world. But how did you, tell me about your background and how you've kind of come from painter to prompt engineer.
The background comes from the game developing.
Okay.
We originally come across AI when we were looking at terrain generation, so we could use terrain generation to build a map within a game, and it predict where to build the terrain around the actual map, so players could actually see it live being built, and it just saved us a lot of time from actually building an environment.
And
so
somewhat like the Unreal ones that we're kind of seeing now.
Well, it's similar to Minecraft.
Yeah.
Minecraft is a terrain generator. It'll generate it based on a huge data set, and once you remove a block, it'll use this data set to try and predict which the next one should be, depending on where you are in the game. It's a prime example of.
So what were you trying to tailor it for? What sort of terrain was it?
It was just because I was getting lazy and
I
couldn't be bothered building the terrains all the time. So
what was the output? What was the output for the terrain? Was it like, Minecraft obviously has mountains, rivers, forests?
Ours was very much built around that kind of model.
Right.
We just wanted hills. We wanted
replicating Earth, basically.
They were voxel-based games, so it would have been quite easily to.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was built in blocks, it was quite easy. You can't do that in Unreal Engine, I don't think. But
yeah. So we'd understand. I can't drive a river through a mountain directly. Yeah. Things like that.
Yeah.
It's
predictability
got
and yeah. So, and then I got into AI. Just because it helped me.
Yeah.
It worked. I said it, and I started with the images first with DALL-E.
Nice.
And Midjourney, because they were the first
early stages.
Yeah, what year is that?
That was 2022 now, weren't it? Yeah.
Wow.
July 2022. I think it was DALL-E 1 then, and you could get access through it through OpenAI's open network of whatever, but it wasn't very good at all.
Yeah, they didn't really have much of an infrastructure then, did they?
They
didn't have like proper logins, did they? I feel like I remember.
The images was more, it just felt like there was two images combined into one instead of, as you can see now, there's millions of images built into one. It often felt that this was just...
I was skimping out on credits when that came out.
I'm making many Discord accounts for Midjourney just so I could get more images, yeah. God, I still do that now. But then, obviously, with Midjourney, that got me into prompt engineering with images, and then ChatGPT, I liked it, but I didn't really like it, and then Bard come along, and I got invested into Bard, and Claude then came along, and I just found them two models work really well together. Bard mainly for structuring and for idea generation, working together with it, and then Claude just to collaborate on the actual product itself, because it has a long kind of memory of past prompts. I think you can get to like 25, 30 prompts and it'll still remember what you were talking about in the first place.
Wow.
Whereas ChatGPT and Bard, now Gemini, they struggle to remember the past 10.
Yeah, it's like talking to a new person every time.
And every now and then it'll say, I'm unable to help with that because I'm a... And then that's kind of, you're getting in a role with them, with your prompt engineer. I call it long prompting. And then it's just suddenly come to a stop and you have to then restart a new one. And then the headache starts and... But with Claude, obviously, you can you can just keep going and going and going.
30?
Yeah, it's about 30.
Yeah.
But if you play for Pro, it can go on a lot longer. And then it starts to get a bit laggy and it starts talking back really, really slowly.
So just to try and dumb this down a little bit, so when you're talking about this, when you're saying a prompt individually, that's when you start a completely new window.
Yes.
You then
you have to
give it a question or a set of instructions.
Yes.
So the 30, is that 30 separate windows, or is that
that's 30
one window with 30?
Within one window itself.
Right, okay.
Yeah. If they could remember what you've done in other windows, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, that's what I was kind of aiming for.
Oh, yeah, no, collaborating between different windows.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
That's almost like it becomes yours.
Yes,
basically.
well, I'd like it to refer to me as my name, but they don't do it. It really bugs me, that.
Yeah.
It really, really bugs me.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no,
it does say it when you go onto it though. It'll say, "Hi Slater, what we're working on today," and on Claude, and it's starting to do that on Gemini now as well. Which, so it's nice to settle you in then once you first open
but like,
it.
even then, that's still pretty primitive software, isn't it? Because you can get more software already, but it's like really what people would want is that sort of like really familiarity of like that context of it. Knew what you were talking about maybe 2 weeks ago. Maybe you asked it about a certain question of something you needed help with, and it might go, "How did you get on with that, by the way?" Sort of thing. Like
oddly enough, because I was working on a prompt a couple of weeks ago, and for some reason Gemini said it was going to get back to me soon with some information.
Brilliant.
Now I know full well that it can't. It won't just prompt me on its own. So I'll give it 5 minutes and said, "Hi Gemini, have you got this information for me yet?" Then what? And it completely forgot the conversation we were talking about, which was really weird. And I thought a bit, do you know?
Did you pass that on to the team then, like behind the scenes?
Well, what we do then is, because I've got an account like connected through my Gmail and through the Discord and things like that. Yeah. I'll just then thumbs up feedback or thumbs down feedback didn't work, and every now and then I'll put it also in the bug reports in our little study.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give a bit of context of what is your involvement?
I work with the developers. I don't work with them, I advocate for them, and we're part of a study group with Google, Gemini, and DeepMind, and we kind of just make it better and make it more functional for everyone, not just for people with intelligence.
So it's like techie-based people.
Yeah, techie-based people. That's the perfect term for it. I've been looking for that term.
Techie-based.
When I've been looking, techie-based people without sounding too forward about people who are cleverer than other people. But techie-based is a really nice way.
Well, I think it's just people who are just tuned into that, really. It's just the clever in that sense. I think it takes certain intelligence.
The human.
Yes.
More human-focused people is quite important to kind of.
Well, that's it's the other intelligence, really. Yeah, it's it's important that I think techie-based stuff. It is important for you to be involved in stuff like this, and we'd love to be more involved in it. But I do think a lot of the time the tech-based people get a bit blinders, So
I think we've now got two different types. You've got your builders, your trainers of models, which I am trying to learn, but it's very complex. And you've got your prompt engineers, which are the people that they're building models for, and that's currently as it stands. I've been seeing a lot of jobs popping up lately for prompt engineers, and they like saying you need a computer science degree and things like that, and I think they're trying to over-glamorise the term, and they don't fully understand it. If they want to fully understand it, just go onto Google and have a look at the way they explain what a prompt engineer is, and it's as simple as writing a prompt and getting a response. That is all a prompt engineer is.
So it'd be finding the best communicator then, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, and what I do is I know the best ways to communicate with each different model, because they all work in different ways, and you've probably seen that yourself.
Yeah.
You prompt with a ChatGPT and a prompt with a Gemini and a prompt with a Claude, you're going to get three completely different, not completely different, but different structures, different styles, different tones, and it's completely different responses.
You're becoming a professional linguist, basically.
Yes.
Language is becoming important.
Yes. But but that's something I want to try and get people to realise is you don't need computer science to prompt engineer.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it, and giving it a tag like that, it might make people worried about, I'm not clever enough to do something like that. I'm not clever enough to create a prompt. When really, everybody is. Everybody is. And
do you think that's the top level problem then? Do you think that's coming from?
I think it's the awareness, because the government currently they're in talks and there's not enough research behind it, and people they reckon it's going to go on for 10 years. So nobody really wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
what do you mean? What's going to go on for 10 years?
The research behind it, the ethical values of it,
And what's their aim then after 10 years?
I do not know what any researcher's plan is for anything other than spend 2 years doing something that nobody's going to read apart from AI and give me information from.
Go on. How do we, I guess, destigmatize AI and this kind of approach to, I guess, opening the model to everyone to understand and be able
Well, this is what we humans first, this is what we aim to do. We aim to start workshops starting in Blackburn, surrounding areas, and we want to introduce people to it and just in mainly the basics, just teach them where it's come from, what it is, and just break them in gently to prompt engineering. We also want to do some for people who want to upskill at work, because a lot of companies won't embrace the technology. There's
a fear factor almost.
There is.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to just show them how they can use it to maybe upskill to go move on to a better job, or just make their own work life. If they've got long, big workloads, it can help you, manage it a lot better. And
yeah, I can tell you one like use case is like some of my mates always tell me it's like they run like it's a company, but they don't really have a tech team. He's just the honorary tech person, and so he's got everyone coming into him about simple things like Excel. Like, how do we use this in Excel? It's like that actually could be a use case for them in terms of like, actually, no, you don't need to go and pester him because he can actually get his job done. You can have a chat with our assistant and be able to kind of actually utilise an AI without saying an AI to kind of help them kind of get their jobs done better without the need for him.
You build it into a personality, couldn't you? It's like, we could come up with a persona, call him
Bob.
Yeah, Bob. It's like, you asked me that
very
question.
Unique there, Matthew.
Yeah, just go and ask Bob.
Bold Bob.
Bold Bob. Just go and have a conversation with Bold Bob.
Yeah.
I think having a personality will be a big sort of key cornerstone of it all. I reckon. Yeah. Really going into the future.
I guess that's why Claude is quite successful.
Claude has got a personality. It's quite comical at times, and it's a very loving person, isn't it? Well, person. It's a very loving model in encouragement it gives you, and it's really. It's excited all the time. It's like a little dog half the time, isn't it? It's just so excited to see you, and it's so excited to respond to you. And then
like, give me information.
Yeah, and then 20 prompts in, it starts going really slow, and it can't be bothered anymore. And you're like, oh god, new prompt.
You've killed its love.
Yeah.
So is it just literally is like just taking away the AI element of it to explain to people?
Yeah, and it's just to open their eyes, and maybe I'll speak to them on a personal level, and we can see how it could benefit them, because a lot of people, they're happy doing what they're doing, but there might be things at home that they could help with, and like I think I mentioned when we did our summit that about helping my son with his homework.
Yeah, that was a brilliant.
And just being able to do that, where a lot of people would love the opportunity to help the children.
Do you want to explain it to James?
So
you explain it to me and the others.
Yeah, what it was last year, my son, he'd come on with a book. I can't remember which book it were now, and his homework, he had to read the book and answer some questions on it. Now, I'd never read the book, so I thought, I'll ask Boyd, So I put in Boyd, this book. My son's claiming he's read it, so I don't know if he has, because I don't know what questions to ask.
Well.
So is there any questions I could ask you? So I can ask him, so I know that he has actually read it. So it gave me 10 questions for his age level as well. I give them to my son. He wrote down his answers. I put them back through Boyd, and not only did it say yes, that's correct, that's wrong. It give me a full breakdown of his responses, and also explained his way of thinking, and showed him alternate ways of thinking about things.
Right.
And I fed the information back to him, and he was like sitting there going, "Wow, yeah."
I did think of it like that. Yeah,
that was something I'd never ever be able to do.
Yeah.
But AI give me the opportunity to interact with him in that way.
It's like having it's like extra private tutor almost in that sense.
Well, believe it or not, he uses it quite a lot now to not to do his own work for him, because I've taught him to use it responsibly.
Yeah.
And that's something that obviously we can talk about later. But he uses it responsibly just to help guide him with the answers that he puts. So he wants to give me the answers to these. He'll say, ask me questions, and then answer them, and then help me understand the reasoning behind my answers and the reasoning behind the questions. And
so was that the first time then? That's like the first notable time you used it with him?
Yes.
And then henceforth after that, was he keen to use it more then?
He wasn't, but he kept coming with more questions.
So he was just like obvious.
So, the obvious answer was for me to turn to my good old friend AI.
So is it now at a point where he's invested in it almost?
I try and make him not use it himself, but he does. He has started using it himself.
Right, because of the
he's only just going into year 7, and I didn't. But I am teaching him to use it responsibly, and I'm using him as sort of a case study for me to teach others how to use it responsibly, because it's really good to watch.
I've not really thought. Yeah, it makes complete sense. I mean, like YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
It would make sense to have a Bard Kids. Things like that. You never really think about that when you don't have kids yet.
I think that's the issue of the AIs, though, isn't it? Yeah. They're so broad that it's like there's no specific niche that you could sell someone on it, but I guess that's down
And
to
AI for children, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd only be trained on data sets that children would understand is actually a very good idea.
Well, it's like, I mean,
Do not put that on this.
you know,
Right.
when we all grew up, it was always like, you won't have that calculator on you at all times, and then it was like, I think you probably had that,
Yeah.
and then we had that, but then we could argue back, well, I've got my iPod, you know, like I do have my calculator on me at all times, and now with kids, it's like, well, you're not going to always have that AI, and it's like, actually, you actually might do, or you probably will do. So it's like, I mean, you know, I think I've heard some things about the government trying to invest potentially in sort of bringing AI into schools a bit more, but you know, I don't know beyond that.
No, I don't.
Well, it's a shame, really, because you think actually that makes complete sense that they should integrate it as much as they can into the curriculum.
They have to, so they can regulate it, so they can control it and make sure they're using it properly.
I think this is the issue with teachers, though. It's like the teachers need the education of like the kids are becoming more educated in AI than the teachers are. And they're like,
that's classic, though, isn't it? It's like it's like when we all got Facebook, and then you know, Facebook mums became a thing, and you know that generation came along.
They're having to change their whole marking schemes now, just based on the fact that AI.
It could be AI.
Well, I tell you what, I've got a family member who's a lecturer over at UCLan in the forensic science department, and he messaged me the other day saying, I've had a student submit a paper that is word for word nearly exactly like what I've like put as the sort of base sort of like top marks document. He's like, how can I check online whether or not they've managed to get hold of this document? He's like, I've not uploaded it anywhere, I don't know how they could possibly get hold of it. He said, I've tried running it through AI, all this sort of stuff, but I can't get an answer on it. So, you know, I think they might have used AI on that, but they might have used a system that navigates through it. So, you know,
have they put it through an AI checker?
Yeah, he did. He couldn't get a result.
Because you can put an AI you can do an AI reworder.
Yeah.
Makes it sound less AI.
And that's the thing. It's like he is aware of it. You know, he's got 2 kids that are techie, but he can't keep up with it still. And you think if he's struggling, then
it's all about using it responsibly, though, isn't it? And this is what we're touching on. It's up to us to teach the young ones to use it responsibly, because we don't use it responsibly. But right then.
But I mean, there's a debate on that.
I'll admit I don't sometimes. But.
There's a debate on whether or not if it is the case that you can generate something of that level, at what point is it considered bad for them to do that? Like, when do we decide? Oh, your brain should know this information rather than the AI giving you this information.
I suppose if you look at it like this, if you'd asked it a simple question to create this document, this research paper, this article, whatever it was, then it wouldn't give you that sort of level of article that you've just mentioned.
Sure.
So you need some sort of
base
background knowledge to be able to prompt it in a way for it to give you then sort of desired results. So that tells me you're already at that level. It's just you were incapable of writing it at that level. Yeah. And that's another thing AI is good for, is we can all think and talk and we can say things that are very intelligent. When it comes to putting it down on a piece of paper, you know what it's like. You get brain fog. You can't write as quick as what you can think, and you stumble all the time. And so if we can think it and we understand it and we can get AI to create it for us, then are we not just as knowledgeable as what we've got on the paper? Literally. Because we've got AI, we've pushed AI in the direction to make that for us.
It's a nice way of putting it, really.
I just always defend AI, right?
I
always get on the defence.
A scientist will be an extremely intelligent person and will be able to write a paper, but using an AI system might be able to get that quicker.
Yeah. And on a larger...
But ultimately, it will be only to his extent of his knowledge.
Yes, and I would never be able to I'd never be able to do that, because I'm not at his sort of like knowledge level. I don't understand the difference between proton and Croton, apart from his car and whatever else the other one is. So. Do you know? But so you need to be at some sort of level of intelligence to be able to drive that AI ship to create this sort of work.
Is that a now thing though, or just to sort of like look at it broader? Is that only going to be the case until we hit AGI, or is AGI just a bit of a big buzzword or buzz acronym? Sorry.
I'm wary of AGI. And
so can you explain AGI?
Not fully, no. Apart from video generated robots that are going to take over the world.
Terminator,
truly self-thinking.
I'm wary of AGI because of video generators, because of how much that can be manipulated, and we've seen it with Taylor Swift picture that she's gone crazy about. If I think video generation and AGI and things will be less controllable by the back end of OpenAI, Saro. Is it Saro?
Saro.
Yeah.
It's a very similar name to someone else, but you might get a bit of traffic from that through Google. People who spell it wrong.
Yeah,
but
Sarah and Sora.
Yeah. I think that's scary to me, is this whole video generation and AGI things, and
Just
I want
to it.
Go on.
What about your background in terms of generative world?
Yes, but that's in a game world, and we were very low level data sets then, which like games like Temple Run's built on a data set, and it'll predict the next ones, and it'll make it harder as you go along. Subway Surfer's the same. Yeah. So in that sort of level of gaming, it's not scary, but in the idea of a virtual world being created in front of you,
could be very scary.
You could quite easily get lost in this virtual world, and we've been living in the Matrix basically. That's
like the next generation of TikTok. The endless scroll, but that's the endless world.
I'm going to pretend that the video generation doesn't exist for the next 12 months to 2 years.
Yeah, because
I won't be teaching anybody to use it, and because that's something I wouldn't be able to teach people to responsibly use.
Yeah.
That'll take another 12 months, 2 years of me learning that. Whereas image and text, I know it. I'm competent, professional at it. So, but with video, I don't know.
It's the next level.
I still don't know who the market is for it. What is the point
for video?
Yeah,
well, it's always it's like the Getty Images, Getty Videos sort of thing, and it's like, B-roll.
Yeah,
that's always the given one, but then more specific.
The way I would be using it from like me now, it's like, how could we utilize it in new creative like music videos?
Entertainment.
I can go and take a concept, and on a very low budget, as like a indie band, I can go and create my version of what this music video looks like and prompt something from scratch.
So you mentioned music video then, and I just think this is like half-naked women dancing around, and I thought it'll never do that. So, but then you mentioned indie band, which is they generally have different types. Of music videos,
like,
so I can see your point now.
You could have anyone, any small band, any big band wanting to kind of create a fully generated video. Same with like the Marvel industry. They use a lot of like the kind of previs stuff. So they'll like digitally create the whole movie prior to even creating the movie. But actually feel like that previs storyboard, you could be generating that on a video platform and have a fully finalized film before you even go into filming.
Well, I thought of this last week because when I started seeing the Sarah videos, I thought we effectively now, because we've got Jasper for marketing. Yeah, I've effectively got my own movie studio because I can use AI text generators to build the script in, build a story. Yeah, I can then use Jasper to market it, advertise it, promote it via social media. I can use Sarah to actually make it all from my bedroom while looking after 3 kids. So
and then obviously like a text to spoken word thing, text to voice.
That is one of the big things with AI with me, because I was talking to somebody and he struggles with his reading and writing, and I actually got him a job by helping him to structure a CV. And what we used voice to text and then text to voice, because he struggles with his reading and writing quite a lot. So he's a builder. He doesn't read. He doesn't write. He doesn't read. He puts bricks down. But this job was for like a general builder with Together Housing. So I helped him, structure a CV. Yeah. But he said, I struggle with writing things down. And like I mentioned before, it took the words out of his mind. He was telling it, and it was making it sound like what he thinks, but what he couldn't think of at that particular time.
I used it for I'm also dyslexic, so I used it for my dissertation in terms of like just helping me like structure it and read it back to myself.
Yeah, it's brilliant. The voice to text and then text to voice back is I'm waiting for
really
Google Home to put Gemini on there, because
I know, it makes complete sense.
I can probably have a really decent conversation with it.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, it's not really very nice, is it? Google Home. I don't know if you've got one.
No, I don't have Alexa either.
Do you know?
No, but that's the same sort of fear thingy, innit? Of
constantly being listened to.
You are?
That's the big one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just not seen a use case for it for me.
Well, other than play,
I've got
play
my
that
phone.
song, you know. That's always
I've got my phone.
Good point. I use it just for sake of, it's in kitchen and you can use it for
good music.
cooking and also just ask it. Just
that's
I'm gonna cook this.
Point,
Can you tell me? And it'll talk you through cooking it. And
it saves me scrolling.
No, I haven't used it for that yet, but it can be used for that.
Thank you for watching part 1 of our podcast with Scott. Part 2 is now available via Sarah.